So we're getting ready for class too. Class chat. We had class on Zoom today. Shit's fucked up. So apparently my camera can't work with this camera. Hold on. What if I deactivate this camera? What if I remove my video camera? We are so cooked. Oh. Oh wait. Chataroineee. Here we go. Good job. Okay. This is what I posted. Was she not gonna accept me, bro? This teacher? chataroineee. Hold on. Hold on, I'm gonna join on my computer, my laptop, because I need y'all to see me. Click this. But don't be dead. No freaking way. I think it's at like 20%. Not pretty much. So I'll just have this. Put this like this. And I get this over here. There's 30. No, actually, I get this like over here. We good. I don't need that much space. It's gonna be more. So I'm gonna place it like this. Yes. All right. There we go. Okay. So like I literally see myself twice. I think I can show y'all. Look, you want to grab mirror? Mirror? That thing? Cast, yeah. I think I should cast it to my computer. I think this is it. Oh shit, no it's not. I think I just did my dormant's TV, bro. That is not it. I've casted on here too, I think. Project, hold on. I was talking. No, it's not. I just can't, bro. Chad, I seriously can't. Chad, it's not working. So y'all just can't see me twice. I mean, you already see me, so it's like, it's whatever. Like, I'm gonna drive you too. I thought I joined the Zoom for a second. That's it. Alright, chat. Let me just lower my screen. Okay. Hold on. Now we're talking. What is playing? Hold on. Alright, let's put this back.
How's everybody? I need to put my phone in.
Alright.
I may have to, I've just been having a lot of like stupid emergencies today. I may have to answer the telephones, so I apologize if I have to mute.
Well, she put my full name on there, bro.
I'm trying to make sure
No.
everything is correct on what I need to share with you. Just give me a second. Attendance, and then we can start.
This shit's in, bro. What do you mean it's not? I can't see because the screen's in my way. I'll have to restart this. Now it should work.
I will fix that later. There's something that got messed up before that. John, is there anyone in the room with you? Are you in the classroom?
Yeah.
There's a couple people, but they know? Okay. Michael. Issue is that Blackboard is sorted by last name first, and Zoom sorts by first name. Oh, Karen, she's gonna be late. I saw Joe. Joe's here. Kayla. Russell's here. Grace is on. Oh, Kayla, you are. Hold on. Oh no, different Kayla. I have two. Yeah. I have one with a C and you're with a K. That's Melanie. Yes, Melanie's here. Yes. Genevieve. Christian. No. Celia is here. Kayla with a K is here. Wow. I'm missing somebody. Darn it. Yeah. I'll leave the attendance open in case some people pop in. Okay. So, thank you all so much for switching remotely. I'm still having a crappy day, like with just dealing with family stuff and some, emergency things, but we'll get through it all together. And hopefully, the sooner I can get through all of this, the sooner you can all go and on your day too. So let me go over. All right, so everybody sees my Blackboard screen. All right. I've made units 10 and 11 available. I will go over it more later, but I'm in Arizona next week, and so oh shoot, I never put assignment in there.
No, this is
I will do that. But
Oh.
you guys are picking something. I have an assignment for next week about the job fair to go to. But anyway, let's get started. So, starting this week, over the next 5 weeks of the semester, you'll be working on your final project. It is a group final project. One of the outcomes of this course is teamwork, and so last week we reviewed how to work in teams, how to work in groups, all of that stuff. So we're going to start to apply all of that. And what I will do, I will start with I made a Prezi about the final project and sort of to give you an idea of what I'm looking for and what steps you're going to have to do throughout it. No, I don't. I just want to go. Nope. Because it's not at the beginning. Alright. So, your final project is going to be about technological revolutions, right? And the impact of them and how there are, like, what the future implications are of said technological revolutions. So I'm just going to give you an introduction of what that is, right? So a technical revolution is a period in time where advancements in technology dramatically shape not just one small culture, but like globally, social, economic, and cultural landscapes. So the example I give here is the Industrial Revolution, which nobody's going to talk about specifically because we're doing more specific communication technologies. Last year I let the groups all pick, and I ended up having 3 of the same topic. And I thought, how am I going to get around that so that we don't have just repeats of hearing the same 3 presentations? So I came up with a list of 7 topics. You'll rank them, and we'll pick the top 5 for everybody to do. Yeah. So we'll have groups of 4 or 5 people. But for example, like the technological revolution was something that happened, 150 years ago, and it really changed the way that people worked and lived. And when I say technologies, it's not just like I'm plugging something in. So I don't know if any of you know that, like, before we had computers, before we even had pen and paper, children in schools or anyone would use slate and chalk, right? Like if you ever watch any old-time movies too. And what they would do is they'd sit and they'd practice their numbers and letters, and they'd write their notes down, and they would just do everything on a slate. And of course it wasn't permanent. You'd have to maybe go home later and copy it down somewhere else. But this was revolutionary for students, especially like this was when one room schoolhouses kind of came about, and the 18th, 17th, and 18th centuries. And this was new technology at the time. It doesn't seem like it's technology, but it totally is. Right? And it wasn't until maybe 40 years ago that even chalkboards became obsolete because dry erase became more popular. I do miss chalkboards. I really don't like dry erase boards, but I guess people had their reasons for switching over. So chalkboards were a technological revolution. So with the Industrial Revolution, before we had factories, before we had industry, there were small, what we call guilds, really specialized people that knew trades. So like you would have a blacksmith that did metalwork. You'd have a cooper also did metalwork. You would have a cobbler, right? Worked on shoes, right? So people would have specialized things that they would work on, and you would go to them. And it was very like limited. Every small town might have some of the same people because people didn't travel far. Nothing was really mass produced. It was all handmade. And the Industrial Revolution changed that. Now we have huge factories with massive amounts of people and massive amounts of machines creating massive amounts of things. And it changed the power dynamics, it changed group dynamics, it changed families, it changed finances, all of that. So that's just one example, right? So what's the impact of having factories and having a shift? Is that we then adapt that again into something that creates more potential future developments. And so for your team, you're going to evaluate a technological revolution. Your team's actually going to be 4 to 5 people. We have 21 students in this class. There might be a team of 3, but I think minimum should be 3 to 4 members, or 3 to 5, I should say. Your first step is to establish communication tools, right? Like, what are we going to use? Are we going to use a Word document in OneDrive? Who's going to set it up? Who's going to create a PowerPoint? Are we going to use Canva, right? Like, I know I didn't really want to use Canva so much, but I know a lot of you probably still have your licenses from first year seminar, where you can actually go into the same document and work together like we can on OneDrive. I wanted to make sure that you're using a tool where people can collaborate together. They do that with Prezi too. But so just make sure you do that. And then make sure you schedule regular meetings. And that's going to be part of your topic proposal form. Right? So your topic proposal has certain key elements. The first is you need to put your team name and what your topic is in the member roster. I want to make sure everybody knows who's on the team. And then so you can decide who has clear, the roles and responsibilities. Talk a little bit about, or write what your chosen technological revolution is. And I want a working thesis statement, right? Your thesis statement shouldn't just be a topic, and it shouldn't just be a question. It should be a full thesis that reflects what your group's perspective is on the project, right? Like, what is the problem that you're solving or that you're evaluating? Then you'll have 3 to 4 key pieces of evidence that you're going to use in your project. I always tell students, if you're stuck, always think about doing the past, present, and future. That's already 3 right there, right? What was life like before? And what was the problem that this revolution addressed? What was it like during it? And then what's it like after? Or what is the next step? So those 3 things give you 3 already. And then you might find 1 or 2 more you want to put in. Like, what are the economic or social ramifications? The next thing is to have potential visuals. You can include some that you find, but you can also say, hey, we're going to find, if it's about the telephone, we're going to find like what, pick images of the first telephones and then show how they changed over the past 200 years, right? So your visual should relate to your thesis. Then you should have a very short but brief collaboration plan. Like, what's your plan? You will have class time from the 23rd and the 30th in class to work with your teams, but you should also try to check in outside of that. And then you should give 3 to 5 references for your annotated bibliography, which I will get into that as well, of what an annotated bibliography is. But at least have 3 to 5 good resources that you're going to talk about. How many of you, show of hands, how many of you are familiar with what an annotated bibliography is? Like a thumbs up or a rocket ship, I don't know, whatever you want to put. Okay, so that's 4 or 5. All right, not quite half. Have any of you never done an annotated bibliography? You can give me a thumbs down on that one. All right. Well, nobody's giving me a thumbs down, so that's a good sign. Oh, Amber, and okay. So I will go over it more on the 23rd. It's funny, the day it's due, but you as group members can kind of show each other how to do it, and there's some samples. But an annotated bibliography is something where if you find a good resource, you want to talk about the credibility of that source, like who's the author, where is it published, why are they experts, how reputable is it, how appropriate is it to your final project, right? That's like a really big point. There's so many buttons now.
I change the height.
So I got 2 monitors going. I think I'd be more organized. So it's why is that source appropriate for your project, and that's pretty much a summary of it. So it's usually like 5 sentences or so. So if you have between 3 and 5 resources, you're going to submit that annotated bibliography at the 23rd of April. And I'm going to give you class time to work on that together. So in your proposal, you have to have a strong thesis statement. And remember, it's not just a topic, it's not just a question. You should all work together. You need to go to the Center for Academic Excellence and have them help you with the thesis statement. Go for it. Geez, I'm having an allergy attack here. And then your key points of evidence, right? So for example, with the Industrial Revolution, there was the shift between guilds to factories. That's a key point. There was the rise of urban middle class, right? People didn't go from abject poverty or like Carnegie Vanderbilt wealthy. There was that middle class when suburbs came about, and and life changed. People had upward mobility from not living in tenements anymore and having opportunities. And then the last one's like, what is the connection to the current economy with the Industrial Revolution? How do we see it now? How does it influence the way that we currently work and what workers' rights are? So like those are three things in evidence that would support your thesis statement if you were doing that. The next are visuals, right? You want to have maybe some timelines or maps or data charts, right? You can create your own data charts if you find a data set, right? We've been working on that. You can have historical images and infographics. So just explain what kind of visuals you want if you don't find any specific ones by the first proposal submission. Then you want to come up with your strategies, right? How are you going to delegate tasks? Even on the topic proposal, right? I will show you, you have 6 or 7 prompts to answer. If you have 4 to 5 people, maybe everybody picks one, right? Or somebody gets 2 and another person gets 1, but how do you delegate that work? And so you're going to talk about that, like, oh, we've already done this. We have a plan to collaborate and split up the work. Make sure you have regular check-ins with each other. And that you use collaborative tools. I highly suggest Office 365 because all of you have access to it. You can use Word, PowerPoint, Copilot, whatever you need to work together and all have similar access. So when you're getting your resources together, it's just a good foundation for your annotated bibliography, which will be due in 3 weeks. So, yeah. So like I said, in your bibliography, your resources on your proposal, your citations should be either MLA, APA, or Chicago style. How many of you know how to, like in Academic Search, Premier, ProQuest, or Credo Reference in the library databases, know how to access a citation where you could just go and download an MLA citation of something?
Sure.
Any thumbs up on that? Okay, Tania does. Christian. Right, if anybody doesn't, can you give me a thumbs down? If you don't know how to do that, find that. Okay. Joe says no. If you have never done a library session, or you don't remember how to do it, this is where the teamwork is really important. Instead of floundering around, ask your teammates, like, hey, how do we find this? And then show each other and work with one another. Because it's super easy to know how to go into a database. I'm not going to show it now, but just save a file and save the citation. And you should have them all the same. I don't want one in MLA and one in APA. Just stick with one format. And like I said, your annotation should have like a summary, key points, and why it supports your topic. And so your final project, you are going to present in class, 5 to 7 minutes each group. Oh, the format is not a video, but you should have slides. I was going to have it so that everybody recorded a video, and that seemed a bit too much. But what I did last year was I just used Zoom and I recorded the whole class. And this way it's recorded if people need it. But you should work as a team to come up with a presentation. And like I said, good platform options are PowerPoint, Canva, and Prezi. So when you're creating your presentation as a group, make sure you have a clear introduction, you have a hook, just like any speech, right? You want to get your audience into it. Do you want to tell a personal story? Do you want to tell a joke, fact? Do you want to define something? All the different ways that we use our oral communication to get your audience involved. And also be very clear about what your purpose is and what your thesis is. Then have a well-structured body. You don't want anybody going off on tangents. You want it to be about 5 to 7 minutes. Keep it really clear and concise and organized. And having engaging narration to engage your audience, keep them involved. Defining definitions of jargon, right? You want to make sure that you're keeping everybody engaged. That you're using great visuals, right? They enhance, they don't distract. Minimal text, people don't want to read a whole, paragraph. I've had students that it's like, they put their whole thing on the slide, they turn and they just read the slide to us. And it's like, do not do that. Do not do that. That is absolutely unacceptable. Is to have like 5, sentences on a slide and just reading from it. Absolutely. And as a team, you need to tell people that's she said it. She said it's unacceptable. Make sure that your design is cohesive throughout and that you balance visuals and text. You don't have too many, not enough text and too much text. What's the next thing? Oh, I will show you the assessment rubric, which your final project is based off of. We'll go with that in a minute. And your conclusion should make sure you have to make sure you include that what are the future implications of this technology, even if it's something old. Some of the technologies we have on our list are from like the 15th century originally, but how do we see it now and what are the future implications still? So that is my prezi on your final project and all of that. Any questions? Any comments or questions? You can put it in the chat or just unmute if you've got questions. No, I'm not great at explaining myself.
Wait, when is this due?
So the final project is due May 7th. I'm going to show you right now. I have, in week 10 is a document with every step and all of the due dates. So let me go over that. So this is a project description of what the purpose is. You can read this on your own. It's linked to all the outcomes of the class: critical thinking, oral comm, technological competency, and teamwork, right? So we're using all 4 of those pieces together. Here's the big question, right? This is a transformative ideas seminar, so we have to think about big questions. How has a specific technological revolution fundamentally reshaped the world, and what are the implications for the future, right? So that's your focus. You're going to become historians and analysts and think about the past, present, and future. Okay, here's more of the learning objectives. But step 1, which is due next week, it's due April 16th. You're going to pick your groups today. You'll have it till Sunday. I know you're all here, so you'll go. But your other classmates who are not present have until Sunday to join a group, so that you have from Monday through Thursday to do this proposal. Your topic proposal must include these 7 items that I've just highlighted.
That's due next week. Oh yeah, she's due next week. What the fuck?
So your topic proposal, this is the first step. It's all broken up. You have, over the next 5 weeks, you're doing something every week. Next week, you have to have, like I said in the parentheses, your team name, what technological revolution you're doing, what your working thesis is, the key points, your visuals, your plan, and references, right? So if you have 4 to 5 people, you can easily break that up into manageable parts. Then the next step is actually due, not next week, but the week after, the 23rd, and that's your annotated bibliography. Okay, you need to have 3 to 5 sources. At least 2 of them have to be peer-reviewed scholarly articles or books or something. And this is the requirements for the citation and the annotation. You have summary and evaluation and a reflection. I will give your class time on the 23rd will include time to work on this. So by the time class is over, your group should be ready to submit.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm like, why does it just say Zoom user? Alright, so your first step is due next Thursday, 16th. Second step is due the next week, April 23rd. Like I said, you'll have class time, so don't freak out if it's not done. Step 3 is due April 30th. That's the week after. And that's a draft and a storyboard. So if you're working in a PowerPoint, you should have your draft PowerPoint, right? That has your introduction, has your body, right? Your narration, some visuals, your conclusion, and your sources should all be in that draft. By the
Damn.
30th.
By the
It doesn't
30th?
have to be
Oh, yeah, she won.
I just want to see like, oh, okay, you guys are starting something. Then the next step, step 4, is going to be the final presentation. That is due May 7th. Every group is going to present in class, right? They're going to bring you your slide deck. Oh, that's what I meant to. We're not doing a video. Oh, and I hit step 4 already twice. Should be step 5.
Oh, why is it not? See, though?
So step 4 is like the presentation. That's when that's due. Step 5 is the next part, right? This is the collaboration review form. So after you've done all this work, you've done your proposal, your bibliography, your draft, right? You're doing all these little pieces for the past month. You're going to complete an online form where you're going to rate yourself and your team members on the process and the participation. And that's your participation grade. It's not really just what I think about how you did in the presentation, but how you all thought each other did. So it's really important to not be the slacker, because then you're going to get like a 0 for your participation grade. And if you do that form and you give yourself 5 out of 5, and everyone else gives you a 1 out of 5, I'm not going to give you 1 out of 5, right? It is the average of what everybody says. So that is step 5. And step 6 is actually your final exam. During finals week, we have to do something where it's a final exam in class. And so I have students do what's called the inquiry narrative, where you're going to reflect on the process, like, what did you do? What did you find that you changed? What was it like researching? What sources did you find? Did you find anything you didn't want to use? All of that. And that's May 14th. So all of these due dates are in the Unit 10 folder. Oh, why is the rubric not there? Hold on. Why?
Suave, bro.
1 second, I have to copy paste the rubric from another class.
That's fucking suave, bro.
Because it got messed up. It done messed up, didn't it, Ron?
No, put the Madre.
I messed up. That skip. Does anybody know the substitute teacher, Canfield?
Hey, Ron, yes.
My son has a friend named Blake, and I just can't help but call him Balake.
Those teachers valid, but she's
That's funny. I have a friend named Aaron, and his contact name on my phone is Aaron.
Hey, A-Rod?
Yeah.
Anybody know it's Mothe? Because that's great too. And what was Jay Quallen? Is that Jacqueline? Oh no. Stay happy. This is gonna work. Yes. Okay. I'm so happy because it's been messing up the formatting. This is the rubric for your presentation, right? Because each piece has a score, but your presentation, this is it. So I want to make sure we always look in the exemplary in the top column, right? Because we want to make sure that you're hitting that point, right? Is your thesis insightful, specific, and strongly debatable, right? Your argument is logical and supported by compelling, well-chosen evidence from research, right? So yes, then 100 out of 100. Is your narration polished? Is it well-paced? Is it engaging? How's your script? All of that. Speakers, we can understand them. Your visuals are great, highly effective. The design is cohesive, right? Your team functions well. The workload is shared.
We really
right?
gotta do
I
work.
can tell if there's one person doing 50% of the talking in 5 to 7 minutes, right? And somebody else shows up and goes, says the conclusion. Like, I know what's going on. I want to make sure that your team is working together and that it's seamless. And I want to make sure that your resources are good. I gotta remove these annotation parts from here, but that is your everything about the final project in a nutshell, or in a document. Most of this stuff, as you saw, is in the Prezi, which is here too. So if you're visual and you just want the little pieces, it's all in this Prezi that's available. So your topic proposal thing is here for next week. It is due the 16th. This is where you're going to submit it. One person per group is going to submit a PDF. Okay, so make sure everybody's had a chance to figure it out and work on it. Topics. Any questions before I move on to show you the topics?
Wait, hold on. What? So wait, are you going to pick the teams or what?
You are going to, here, all right. I'm going to, these are the 7 possible topics. I'm going to have you rank the topics after I talk about them. And then you are going to self-assign. You're going to enroll yourself in the topic that you want, if it's still available. Why is this not popping up?
Tape shit.
All right, so the first topic we have is from the 15th century. It's the printing press, right?
Oh, Dad.
If no one's familiar with the printing press, I will show you, but hold on. Let me first show you what was before, right? Like why was it such a big deal? Before the printing press, monks, mostly monks or people or whoever, when there was actually books, would hand write out manuscripts. And then they love to actually include pictures of themselves drawing the manuscripts. But it would take them forever to do it. And not a lot of people read, because only really wealthy people or like religious people or whoever had first had money for books, and second had access to them. So monks would write and hand draw, like, see, there's a monk writing and hand drawing, making illuminated manuscripts. This was in Europe, right? In Asia, the Chinese did a lot of manuscript work too, and the Japanese. Like every culture's had their way of doing writing. But then the printing press was invented by a man named Gutenberg, and what the printing press did was it made it so that people didn't have to handwrite everything. They would use letters that were already like metal, and they would put the paper over this thing down here would have the letters backwards, and they would put a piece of paper over it. They would flop it down. They'd tamp it with they would tamp the letters with ink, and then the press would press down. Actually, Sarah, I mean, whoever does this can explain better or more. But it made it so that they could quickly print page after page after page after page of something that would take the monks and years sometimes to do, right? And so that's why the printing press was so important. It made knowledge, it democratized knowledge. It made it available to more people and everything else. This invention that was during like the Middle Ages, between that and the bubonic plague, that's what made the Renaissance happen, right? So it changed the way that Europe and most of the world kind of worked and communicated with each other. So but it also created some strife with like war propaganda and religious propaganda and all of that. So that's an issue that you could talk about. The other thing so the future implications where you're like, this is from the 15th century, what does it have to do with now? How does this decentralized information, people getting information from the source rather than funneled through someone with
this
power,
whole time, y'all.
right? Yeah. How does it repeat the chaos? And we can see it now politically in the world where people have access to all kinds of knowledge, but other people still try to hide it. The question you could ask.
Damn.
The next is camera and film, right? right? So not just in
Wait,
print
can y'all even hear the
writing,
desktop?
the camera, or first the daguerreotype, and then the actual physical
The
film
desktop audio?
cameras revolutionized visual truth, right? Instead of people just painting, actually I have the thing of Botticelli's Birth of Venus, right? So how long did it take him to?
Wait, hold on.
A really
Is my
long time.
desktop audio working? Let's
Somebody
see
could
this.
put some an image right away, and so it revolutionized how images were
Chat, let's see if I can get called. Cause yo, I actually got the job.
relayed to people, and then even in like wars, like one of the first photographs ever was actually from one of the
My computer.
Civil War happened, and
Stream.
like news photographers would go and take pictures of all of these dead soldiers and send them off, and it's like, oh, that was such a big like shocking reality to war for most people that never saw that kind of devastation.
Nick, you sure you got the job
to
game?
their neighbors and family members and stuff.
You don't think you
So
got it?
how do we, how do photographs change things? Think about the
How did I get it before you got
We
it?
saw the first full images of
Does
the
that mean I'm
dark
good
side
at
of
it?
the moon this week. We have never seen the whole back of our moon ever. Not a single human. Like, how crazy is that?
I found roommates were on.
Some of the photographs were taken with a
You do?
Nikon camera.
Where's your roommate?
Yeah.
That's been used on the International Space Station for years, and others with
I'm
the
gonna meet him
iPhone
today.
17 Pro Max.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me him
yeah.
today.
Right?
Yeah, at 4
How
o'clock.
crazy! Like, you can have that phone, and the same camera that's in your
I found
pocket
someone.
is what took one of the first photographs of the back of the moon. I think that's nuts. So
Hold
anyway,
on, Nick. Give me a second.
what do we do about
Yeah.
this photographic truth? What does it mean for
Oh,
our
let's view on
future?
here.
So that's that topic. The next is the telegraph.
No, we're not a TV,
it's
bro.
actually
I do not want to join
telegraph
TV.
and telephone, because I think that the telegraph is too tight. Right. So the telegraph was like the first. It's the internet, right? It was wired. It was people could, it didn't take weeks and months for a message to get from New York to Los Angeles, or from London to New York, or London to Cairo. They had wired. It was Morse code. It was almost instantaneous that people could get messages across the world, right? In the 19th century, it changed finance, it changed families and news, and like just the speed of everything. And so now, how does social media and fiber optics do that, right? Like, I'm on fiber optics right now. I'm not my photos, I'm not lagging. I'm not having any slowness to my internet. So that's the next topic. The next one is semiconductors and microchips. When microchips and semiconductors were invented in the mid-20th century, and then personal computers and network servers and all of that came about, it changed the way that we stored information.
It's freaking
in
confusing,
our
my
commerce.
Can't leak Nick's
dealt with
number.
our finances, everything. But they're also very wasteful. And now, with AI, most of the microchips and semiconductors being used, like the NVIDIA ones, all on AI, all these data processing centers.
Well,
And they got so hot that they need so much water. Right?
are you in class on Zoom?
What's the waste involved?
I'm in
What's
class,
the
man.
ramifications to us?
Why you?
So,
Wow, it's
talk a
her.
little bit about that.
Chat, it's my class.
The Internet World Wide Web. So just like the printing press in the
Joe, you're a cook.
the internet in the late 20th century, like 90s to early 2000s,
Oh,
just
shit.
changed the way that we do everything. We shop, we communicate with friends.
Yeah,
All
you're
these,
her.
and at first it was all these little people, but then like Amazon, Google, whatever, all Meta, Facebook, all created monopolies. So what does that mean to us? How can we try to fix those harms of what it's doing to people mentally, physically, everything? And the next topic is the smartphone and mobile computing.
This shit's killing me, Nick.